Hey, I do that every time. It's Dominic D'Angelo. I'm of adfreeshows.com, scoops.com. Pro Up Podcast, Eat Wrestling as well, and other outlets. But I'm here by myself. Yes, Robert gave me the assignment to get a guest co-host, and I tried to get one at the yesterday. Didn't happen, but you got me today. So we'll preview WWE SmackDown tonight. I have some thoughts on a certain title change that just occurred in TNA, and then there was something else I wanted to talk about too. It'll hit me. It'll hit me. But yes, I want to welcome all you to the program per usual. Let's say hi to some folks in the chat here. We got Triple E saying, "What's up? What's up?" Jeff Henniger saying, hello, RNI. F you. Oh, F you too, Jeff. No, I know. You said, sorry, ignore that last message. I accidentally hit the send button and not delete. Thumbs aren't working today. Man, Jeff's having a hard time with the chat. Feel free to say what you want, though, Jeff. Even if you do say F you to me, I'm okay with it. Wrestling Old Edit, happy TGIF, RNI. Devin Dowling. Hey, yo, happy belated birthday to Devin Dowling, by the way. I wanted to give him a shout out. I don't want to put words in his mouth. No, I know this wasn't you. Never mind. I'm glad I didn't say it because I was going to guess your age, but I can't remember. How old are you, Devin? Let's go with that. If you feel like telling me, you can. Dre Owens, hello, RNI. How about Kazarian getting that title? Yeah, let's talk about that. So there's several elements that make this a head scratcher in ways that people are like, what the heck? Obviously, Mike Santana had this huge moment finally at Bound for Glory, winning the TNA championship. This felt overdue. It felt like it should have happened at Slammiversary. That's when TNA should have pulled the trigger and didn't. And but the payoff ultimately kind of worked out in certain ways with Bound for Glory. However, the follow-up is one to question, but I'm not completely against it for one, if there's one major reason, and that is if Santana is WWE bound. And I don't know what his contract situation is, but you've heard reports before that WWE was really impressed with Santana and what he had to contribute. And I mean, good golly, the guy has put the work in. He's great on the mic. He got into even better shape than what he was. And, he is passionate about pro wrestling. You look at how he and Ortiz, allegedly split, was like Santana was just more driven to get things done and had a higher ceiling for himself where don't want to put words in Ortiz's mouths or make too much assumptions, but it sounded like Ortiz was a little bit more comfortable with where he was at in his career and what he was doing. So Santana wanted more, and he ultimately got more by the work he put in. So the only silver lining that could possibly be with this, if it ultimately pays off, is if he's going to WWE. I would love to see him show up as the mystery opponent for LA Knight on SmackDown tonight. Now that would wash away any notion of, oh my God. Now you get good buzz now that Santana, like a loss to Frankie Kazarian. Why not carry that over onto SmackDown? Obviously, if I were a betting man, well, I am a betting man, but probably not in pro wrestling, I would say that's not going to happen. That Santana is not the mystery opponent for LA Knight tonight. And that is going to be somebody else. But I mean, even in the grand scheme of it all, if he's WWE bound soon enough, then I'm okay with it kind of happening. It's a shame, though, that I think this was his first title defense. And, it happened under nefarious means because Kazarian won the Call Your Shot Gauntlet Battle Royal, whatever, and earned that shot. And so he cashed in like a Money in the Bank kind of thing when Santana was down on his luck last this week, and so took advantage and became the champion. And so the reason I don't mind it doesn't hurt as much, would be the I like Kazarian, and so that's a personal preference. I like Kazarian a lot, and I always think he's he's just a steady, steady presence. And I think somebody, man, he goes understated as somebody that was underused, I believe, in AEW. If you guys remember when they had Kazarian and they split up as SCU from SCU, he he went on this, he had this cool, like almost Punisher like angle where he was the elite hunter and like he was gonna go after the members of the elite. And I thought that was such a cool thing. And they could have done something really neat with that, where he would like pick them off one by one, or maybe be this chaotic agent that was something that I thought had really cool potential for somebody like Kazarian, like a seasoned vet that like you kind of respect. He's like that veteran quarterback that comes in and like gets you a game winner. Makes a game winning comeback or anything to that. And I think Kazarian had that kind of cool identity, and the hope was there. I thought, man, this is cool stuff. And this was back when, there was some optimism with, hey, how the booking might pan out with AEW. But obviously that didn't happen. And like, so to see him kind of back in the mainstream picture of TNA is cool. But at the same time, too, I understand the aspect that, hey, he's somebody like it's TNA going back to the well. However, let's see what the follow up is. I don't like Santana losing with just a month out of winning it, and then this basically being so he didn't successfully defend the title at all. It just doesn't. It does seem to leave a sour taste in the mouth for sure. So that's it. Okay, and me talking, and then me also reading the chat also reminded me of the other subject I want to talk about, which kind of pertains to this. Is it's reported that Joe Hendry has signed with WWE finally. And so, and then Wrestling Old Head happens to add, let's see, I lost the chat here. Oh, he says, I think it's possible LA Knight wrestles Joe Hendry tonight. Yes. So it would make sense, right? You would think. And like for how much Hendry has campaigned to be one of Cena's final opponents or to fight Cena, this would make sense too. And I mean, if LA Knight were to beat Joe Hendry, it would give him kind of like a heelish reputation just for the simple fact he beat Joe Hendry. But at the same time, too, you could have Joe Hendry beat LA Knight and that further propagate a heel turn for LA Knight, which I think is what they should do. Should Joe Hendry be John Cena's final opponent? That is something to think about. Or is there any it's frustrating. Like, is there any chance that Miz would be John Cena's final opponent? Even saying that, I think no. Ultimately, no. Like, as kind of a memorable rivalry that Cena and Miz cultivated for themselves between the two of one another, I don't think that the fans would. That would be a big payoff. Miz is such a almost on the point of a legacy star that his being John Cena's final opponent would not do too much. That's really unless you want to give him like one big final title run. The only thing I could really think is like, yeah, and this is probably a very poor comparison, and Robert would scoff at me if he were here. But you think about how kind of stale Brock Lesnar was as an act before he ended the Undertaker streak. If you guys recall, and gals tuning in, that before WrestleMania 30, WrestleMania 29, Lesnar fought like Triple H and lost. I think he lost. It felt like he lost. Pretty sure he lost. And he just felt like this old act that was just like, all right. Lesnar had that dominant run against Cena like a year before and stuff like that, but this act is now stale. And so, as much criticism as the Taker streak gets, and like, believe you me, I ultimately, in a way, don't think he should have lost. But I mean, Lesnar winning propelled Lesnar to this dominant, unstoppable force again in a very big way. If it wasn't for that, Lesnar's big run moving forward would probably have never happened. So, where am I going with this? If you had Miz be John Cena's final match and then beat John Cena in his final match, you could maybe reposition Miz as a world title person. That like, me saying that makes me think, "Ooh, no, not really," but, I mean, if that's what you really believe in as your ultimate if you're Triple H and you're thinking, like, "Let's give Miz one more run, big, main title picture run, and have him repackaged," but I really don't think that's in the cards. I do mostly just think, the fact that Joe Hendry is in this match, uh, kinda makes you he's gonna be, like, the dark horse for that if he shows up, and that'll be the neat thing is you put in certain ways, you you can cultivate a heel turn for LA Knight, who I think really needs a heel turn at this point in time. Um, I am not as sour on LA Knight as Robert is, but you know, I am curious. Does he have more of a ceiling than what we're seeing? Uh, and I just that question is kind of up in the air, and I'm leaning towards I don't know how much more of a ceiling LA Knight has, but I do remember him being a very, very good heel in the Ted DiBiase Cameron Grimes feud in NXT. So possibly you can get LA Knight to where he can be, but just not as a babyface right now. Okay, let's take a look at some of the comments here. Uh, it says I felt that Santana should have had a longer reign, but at least this gives him someone to feud with. Yeah, so I mean, there is a silver lining to him being in an interesting feud and everything. Um, yeah, and I was happy to see Kazarian finally win it too. I liked it. I mean, I don't like it that it at the behest of Santana unless they're really going to do something special with him. But um, Wrestling Old Head also adds, if Ortiz leaves AEW, he should show up in TNA and kick off a proper feud with Santana. It's money, man. I think you're 100% right on that. I think that would be really really cool. You could turn something real into something on air, and I think that's the best kind of drama you can get with pro wrestling a lot of the times. Let's see. Internet says Alistair Black's joining the Vision tonight. Would I like that? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think I would. And this is just me fantasy booking in my head. So if Alistair Black joins the Vision and like he's kind of this creepy, creepy presence, obviously, and you have these heavy hitters in Braun and Bronson, and then you have a wild card in Logan Paul. I would love to see them kind of move. They go into war games, they lose war games, and then Alistair Black completely takes out Logan Paul, like big time. Like gets him black mass, just annihilates him, like eliminates him from the faction. Like this is what happens. You lost it for us, and you're out. Boom. We don't need you. We don't want you. And then you get this big time kind of monstrous, in a way, heel, spooky heel that Alistair Black is really good at. And it kind of adds a new layer to the Vision. I like it a lot. And it kind of gives them a more of like, not that they're not intimidating already, but like it gets them a little bit more serious. And I think that would be great. And then you kind of, I'm just thinking wild stuff you could do with Heyman. Get him to get like anybody familiar with the Bertolt Brecht plays? It's like Brechtian and like Three Penny Opera. I was in it in college, and like something that they did, like from a makeup perspective, is they darken the circles of your eyes, and it was very like Brechtian. So like yeah, it was like you're poor and all that stuff. Just imagine Paul Heyman putting all that stuff on would be very funny. uh, yeah, Wrestling Gold, it says it here. Brock Lesnar got that Michael Myers reset of his character, so these and we fans can see how scary he is. Yeah, right. I think that's it. Wrestling Gold also adds, whoever beats Cena will probably work Lesnar as being the two guys that beat Cena on his way out, which is why I feel Gunther gets it. That's right. Gunther is in the match too. That's who people are. I think he's probably the heavy favorite to win the tournament. Would I want to see? I mean, yeah, you really got to believe in Gunther, and I think Gunther is somebody you can do that with. I think, and it being significant. I was speaking with a certain wrestling luminary Can I say his name? I'll just say his name. Nah, I won't say it now. I'll save it for later. But speaking with a wrestling luminary, and he thinks Gunther could have like just been a great rival for Bruno San Martino back in the day too, and great he would have fit in 100%. So I think Cena probably like if he had an option in this as who would be his final opponent and who would maybe beat him, uh, I think he would have picked Gunther for sure because I mean Cena has such a respect and regard for the history of the business and everything like that, and I'm sure he sees a lot of that in Gunther. So I would be totally fine if it ends up ultimately being Gunther. And maybe too, I mean, I'm just booking in my head here, obviously, but you have LA Knight lose to Joe Hendry, and then later on, LA Knight cost Joe Hendry his chance to fight John Cena. And you turn him heel, blah, 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 blah. There we go. Oh, Santana, Moose, the Rascals, and the Hardys are coming to a town adjacent to me next weekend. I'm excited for it. That's awesome. Yeah. Dre Owens says Aleister Black should not join the division. Okay. Dre Owens also says I saw Cena isn't going to be part of the War Games match. Is that the Meltzer report? I saw that too. I just never know anymore. It's like not to take not to discredit Meltzer or anything like that, but it's just who knows until it actually happens. And I think a lot of the times too, like you can be fed something wrong or incorrect, and it's just pro wrestling. It's like lies happen all the time. And not just in pro wrestling, they happen in sports. Like people lie and leak information that's not really true and stuff like that. And so I just kind of like, I'll believe it when I see it a lot of times. So who knows? I just, is there value in having seen in the War Games match? Yeah, I think there would be, but I could also see it not happening too. So who knows? Oh, true. Wrestling all that Gunther beats Goldberg, Cena, and Lesnar, he would be made. Yeah, that's right. You're positioning a new star in a big manner by doing that for sure. I did not hear about this. Did you hear about the backlash about Monet not doing enough in Blood and Guts? Who's that? Who's the backlash? Is it the fans? Is it colleagues? Because I kind of just don't think it matters. I honestly didn't really expect her to do a whole lot in a Blood and Guts match. Mercedes Monet in a Blood and Guts match? I did not think. Yeah, I assumed that wasn't going to happen. That she wasn't going to do a whole lot in there, and I'm fine with it. Like the fact that she was in it, I thought was cool. Jeff Henry adds, Joe Hendry and Gunther should be the finals. Have Hendry for Hope Spot and underdog, but Gunther crushes the dreams like always. Ooh, see, I like that. I like that. See, Jeff Henry and I are on the same page. Dre Owens follows up. I was thinking she seemed out of place in that match. They should have replaced Monet with Athena. Yeah, she kind of felt a little out of place. I can subscribe to that, but I also just think, she's your biggest star, arguably, for the women's division. I mean, obviously, make a huge argument for Toni Storm, but I mean, biggest name. So I mean, like, I could understand why they want her in the match too. Oh, Devin says X is outraged. X doesn't matter. I don't give a crap about what X thinks. That place is so toxic. And I was going to talk about this today too, since I kind of have free will today. But before I do, let's talk about our friends, one of our favorite sponsors, and that is the Perfect Gene. Yes, Perfect Gene. Autumn is here. Winter is just right around the bend. And holy cats, I can feel it up there in Pittsburgh. The elements are coming into play. We had a little bit of snow already. Don't like that. Not a fan of that. But I do like looking good. Do like feeling good. And I love it when I get the perfect gene. And I get the perfect pair of jeans with the perfect jeans. And you can too. Perfect gene is seriously, I say this all the time. And I'm legitimately saying this as a shoot. 100%. The perfect gene is my favorite pair of jeans I've ever owned. 100%. The comfort, the look, the feel, it's ultimately everything you want in a pair of jeans. So it's a good investment that you can do. And we are happy to have a special offer for our listeners. That is correct. I'm trying to see if I have the lower thirds of the perfect gene on here, but I'm not seeing it. What the heck, Dominic? Did you delete it? Damn it, Dom. I'm ready to say it too today. But don't let stiff jeans ruin the holidays. Join 500,000 plus dudes who've uncrushed their nuts with the perfect gene. Head to theperfectgene.nyc or Google the perfect gene. And for a limited time, listeners get 15% off their first order, plus free shipping, exchanges, and returns. Just use code RUMOR15 at checkout. That's 15% off your order with code RUMOR15 at theperfectgene.nyc. Save today and stay perfect. 100% legitimately, perfect jeans, you got to invest in. If you need a new pair of jeans, look at you got all these fits and styles, and they're tailored to your needs. And you can free returns on all that stuff. Not only that too, but it's like, yeah, it depends on, you could get your different kind of color scheme or every. I got the Joker blue and I love that pair. Legitimately, I wore them last night. I had an event I had to go to last night, a fun event, and I wore that pair of perfect jeans because I knew I was going to look good in them. So help support the show. Go to theperfectgene.nyc and use that code RUMOR15. Help out the show. Keep the lights on for us. All right. Well, let's see what else. Yeah, well, X is going to give it to you. All right. So, yeah, let me talk about this. I'm going to do a full video on my other channel, which there's going to be news about that other channel, by the way, which was known as Brass Ring Media. Well, Brass Ring Media is still going to exist, but there's some changes coming into play here. But anywho, I'm going to do a more thorough video on this topic, but I figure why not address it now? Because it's always fun to get down and dirty with some of this stuff here. I think I am astounded, not necessarily astounded, but definitely, I don't know how to put it, but very kind of disappointed, but also like kind of entertained by the aspect of how negative a lot of content creators are intentionally negative. And because guess what? Negativity is what gets traffic. Negativity is what gets things going. And so obviously I've had my feud with Brian Last, Jim Cornette, of under Jim Cornette's skirt, if you will, is Brian Last. And so he obviously took some really mean-spirited shots at me, and I happily fired back. But like, it's just, and this is always kind of been a criticism of me with the Jim Cornette show. I happen to agree with a lot of what Jim Cornette says from a philosophical standpoint of pro wrestling. Like, there's stuff that he'll point out that I'm like, that's true. They could be doing that better. Obviously, he says it in his own tone, in his own vernacular that makes it very more edgy and entertaining. But what I ultimately, when I did listen to Jim Cornette, I'll sometimes tune in from time to time and check out some clips here and there, especially if it's a entertaining or interesting topic. But when I like listened to episodes, I felt horrible as a wrestling fan. I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, why am I covering this? Like, it was just so negative about ultimately everything. Like, yeah, it made you wish for the better days of pro wrestling, and those better days are gone. Obviously, you don't want to live in oblivion, and you want to have your critiques and feel like, yeah, be kind of ultimate unbiased soundboard, and I feel like in a lot of ways with that. But it's just like you want to enjoy what you're doing, And so when I listen to Cornette go on his diatribes about AEW or wrestlers or the industry or everything like that, I'm like, ugh, this business sucks. And so that's ultimately where I started feeling a lot of big negative stuff. But as of recent, it seems like there's just been more that's been hyped up and churning through your YouTube algorithms and your X accounts and everything. And so there's names like JD from New York, who really trashes AEW big time. Like he's blocked me on X. A lot of these people have blocked me on X too, by the way. So JD, he's somebody that's like, ugh, come on, man. Like you're just upset that your butt hurt that AEW doesn't like you. That's what it really feels like. And he's fair. He's he's in his own right to criticize what he wants and how he feels about things. But I just feel like so much of this is so over the top and so like with different intentions, obviously. Another uh, gaggle of folks is James Romero's crew, that British bloke guy who works with Stevie Richards. He works with Zeb Coulter, why? Dutch Mantel. I think there's somebody else. He does his own YouTube channel. Seriously, you go and look at Stevie Richards, the Stevie Richards channel. Go and look at James Romero's channel. He does two different videos of of a hot topic, and the positioning of those videos on the thumbnails at the very least, and sometimes in the title, are extremely negative. Now, if you sometimes watch a Stevie Richards clip, there's more nuance to it inside of it, but ultimately, it's just let's catch you in with the negativity and see what happens. And hey, hats off to them. I know a certain way to do it because I mean they get the views and everything that you're looking for when it comes to that as a content creator. But I just find it like wow, it's so heavy handed. Yes, there's a lot that I take exception with when it comes to the modern pro wrestling product. In any company in certain ways. I could have my criticism with any company. And but at the grand scheme of it all, there's a lot of stuff that I can garner from and be like, you know what, that's a good job. That's entertaining in that. And like, and that goes with both companies too. Like I love what Ricochet's doing in AEW. I love that aspect. I like a lot of the elements that are coming in with the Young Bucks angle and everything because I honestly think that you aside from Cody Rhodes leaving, the Young Bucks even more so than Kenny Omega feel like an ambassador of AEW. And so if you're positioning them in a big light and embracing them, it's high time for them to be in prominent roles as baby faces, I think. So I like what they're doing there. And obviously there's a lot of I like about what WWE is doing. Like they give you some good wrestling, but they also give you the element of storytelling and entertainment. And sure, maybe there's a huge amount of missteps and trials and tribulations that come through. You think about the whole thing with The Rock and the John Cena heel turn and everything like that. But if you watch the product, if you pay attention, they're doing some things that really can rope you in. And some of it is treading water. Some of it's treading water. But ultimately, I like it. I like, people were up in arms about Julia losing the United States Championship to Chelsea Green. Well, from my viewpoint, I love Julia. I think she's a huge star. Put her in the right light. Maybe she's turning babyface, like Robert said, and you're going to do some other different things with her. But you move her over into like a babyface angle, or if you even pair her with the Kabuki Warriors, she's somebody that's a little bit more doesn't get as lost in translation as maybe an Asuka or a Kairi Zane does. So putting her with them could make sense and make them feel like a really dominant faction, female faction again. So I'm not necessarily against that either. But like people were up in arms about her losing. But from entertainment perspective, Chelsea Green has been kind of on fire when it comes to crowd reaction and crowd reciprocation. So why not put the United States Championship on her? Like, and even if it's in a 2-minute loss or whatever, so what? Julia was the United States champion. She can move on and do something different. So, like, I do not subscribe to the notion of how social media reacts as the majority because it isn't. What's so funny is it feels like the majority if you're on X and you're seeing the algorithm go and you're seeing all these people being ticked off about something and complaining about what's going on, but it's not necessarily the ultimate truth because fans are still tuning in and they're still watching. Obviously, some of the ratings seem to be down and attendance. Like that, it's plenty of criticism for WWE when it comes to some stuff like that. When it's like, what are you doing? I just think they're in a different kind of world right now when it comes to, hey, what are people consuming? It's a Friday. That's one thing. It's also I think people are watching things differently. Sports season is in play. Like you have NFL football, and obviously this is a Friday night, but it's a Friday night. It's a weekend. I just think it's harder to rope people in now. You know, I say this in and out. I don't watch SmackDown live. I haven't watched it live. I watch it after the fact when I do watch it, and when I do watch it, I think it's a great show. I think it's better than Raw most times. Obviously, too, I will admit I have a little bit of a bias because I know Road Dogg runs that show, and me and Road Dogg are friends, and I think he does a great job, and I think he's super smart to the business. So, and I agree with his wrestling philosophy more than I agree with somebody like a Jim Cornette or anything like that. Or so it's just like that's more my bread and butter of what's going on. So trying to think if there's anything else I want to add to that right now. But man, what a negative space it can be. And negativity obviously sells with pro wrestling. So I mean, you know, like, but it's just so heavy handed. It's just like, you know, I see that picture of James Romero where he's like pursing his lips and like, ugh, and then Goldberg's a mark, and it's just like, dude, yeah, relax. All right, I know what you're doing. We all know what you're doing, James. James. I'm glad I'm kind of angry right now. All right, let's take a look here. I want to read some comments. Oh, thank you, Sega. Sega Johor77, like to subscribe your channel already. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, if you guys haven't yet, go to Podcast Heat Wrestling, that YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, hit like. That's where Robert and I will get some good amount of revenue that helps us out. So if you tune into the Podcast Heat channel on YouTube. But we do stream on the Ad Free Shows YouTube channel, on the Rumor and Innuendo YouTube channel, and on the Oh You Didn't Know, speaking of Road Dogg, YouTube channel. So that's where you can do. Oh, Devin Dowling says, watch What Culture. Adam Wilborn and Simon Miller love everything. Yeah, they're more of a positive kind of thing, I guess. That's kind of always been their bag. I don't watch too much of What Culture, but and not that this is a criticism, because it isn't, but I do see some kind of eyebrow raising headlines or thumbnails when it comes to What Culture, and you know, hey, what are they saying here? This seems like, you know, WWE made a mistake or something. Let's see. Here we go. Devin says, yes, I had to stop listening to Cornette. I was getting negative towards outside aspects of life as well as wrestling. Right? Right? Like, listen, I'm very apolitical. I do not like either party, if I'm being honest. But like, and I don't think it's politics like that necessarily that sour me with Cornette. But yeah, it's just negative. It's like you think about Cornette and how he exists in his own world, and like he's confined himself to Kentucky in this one little area, and then he can go on this pedestal, and so many people listen to him, and good for him. That's by all means not a criticism, but I do think like it makes you feel he's so isolated. So what am I? Why do I subscribe to what he has to say all the time when it comes to his thought processes and his life philosophy? And I just feel he's kind of just off base with some of this stuff. Wrestling Old Ed says Cornette is a character and he's playing it up for the audio. Absolutely, he is, but he doesn't realize there's a ton of YouTube influencers that are taking his formula and don't have all the ingredients. Yeah, I mean Cornette found the special sauce. You know, obviously he's got such a personality and everything, but ultimately, yes, he's completely playing into a character that he's created. You know, this is what makes him money. This is the easiest way he can make money. He's just sitting there and you know, calling the Young Bucks, you know, whatever he calls them, and Kenny Omega, Kenny Olivier, and all that stuff. So it's just like it's an easy way to make money. He sees it there. You know, if there was a different way for him to potentially make money, you know, that was easier, he would probably do that. But like, you know, or if this for some wild reason the well dried up with Cornette and he's had to go back on the road or do things like that, yeah, you know, he would he would have buddied up with the Young Bucks or anybody he could have, I'm sure, to try to make a buck, you know, pun intended. Coupled with JD, YouTubers expect to get loud and yell about wrestling in order to blow up. And yeah, I mean, I see a lot of these videos catch so much fire and stuff like that. But it's just like, why am I listening to that guy? I mean, you could say the same thing about me. Why are you listening to me? Like, who am I? I'm so much of this stuff. Like, yeah, I put my time and effort into being a wrestling reporter or journalist, and I've networked and I've made a lot of cool connections with a lot of cool people and people in the business and stuff like that. But why do you even give a crap what my opinion is? Obviously, we're just doing this to create content, but at the same time, too, it's just like JD kind of has some charisma to him, sure, but like, why do I listen to him? Why should I hear what he's saying? Ultimately, though, you can pick and choose from people you want to hear about, like, and hear from, and then get their perspective. Listen to somebody else and get their perspective. I don't know. Let's see what other people. I watch wrestling for the same I did when I was a kid because it's fun and inspires me creatively. I always wondered why people get so upset about it. Right. Like, I get upset because the thing that I can really kind of get negative about is just the trajectory that AEW has taken. Obviously, I'm not in charge, and I have no control over how that product gets handled, and we all are guilty of fantasy booking and having our own favorites that you want to see do well and be positioned in the right manner. But there just felt like so many great opportunities that AEW could have taken advantage of and could have really ran the ball with, and they've just fumbled it so many times. And hey, me being a New York Jets fan and them losing to the Patriots last night, it really makes me think of like how much hope I have at the beginning of the season for the Jets, even if I thought they were going to be like, maybe they could get like 9 wins this year or something. And that's going to be even a struggle. And like now they just kind of suck. So even more so than what I thought they were going to suck. And like, so it's just a letdown. So like, I get a lot of negative energy from my New York Jets. So when I watch AEW and I'm like, oh man, this is what they could have been, and here they are right now. It's like missed opportunities, and then it makes me think about myself too. What am I making most of? What am I not doing most of? Like in my own regards of creating content and trying to get my name out there a little bit more. I don't know. So I take it as a big reflector of life. But yes, that when I watch wrestling, when I watch John Cena versus Dominic Mysterio, boom, that hits you. That resonates with you as a wrestling fan. I felt so cool and man, feeling like wow, feels like it's just a really big historical moment for WWE, for John Cena, for Dominic Mysterio, and like that's the stuff I want to sink my teeth into and live vicariously through and talk about on such a great platform because that's what makes it great. And that's what I want for AEW. I want it for AEW too, really bad. And there's just so much different things that they can do that I think. But yes, I mean like it's easy to be negative and it's easy to go on the attack of stuff and say like this thing sucks and that thing sucks and that person sucks. And ultimately that's gonna give you a lot of views in the short term, but in the long term, how's it gonna do for you? When you ultimately have criticized people and then you just everybody's gonna get their like little moments of popularity and buzz and things like that. But I don't know. I can't subscribe to just ultimately being negative. I think it's fair to criticize. I think it's uh, you know, fair to call things out when they're bad and embrace them when they're good. But it's like to just do it so you're getting views and you're in the algorithm. Ugh, no, thank you. Um, and wrestling, Dre Owen says AEW needs to figure out how to grow their audience. They got a core group, but they got to build on it. Look, they do have a core group. Um, uh, Ways to build on it, we can go over and over, and we have about what they can do. I would lessen the violence. I would hone in on certain stars and like find a way to adjust your roster to make it those everybody on the show feel special. Feel special. I would I would see. I know, like I would see what WWE is doing. I would eliminate a whole bunch of titles. I would limit the factions, get rid of the Death Riders, and then I would do other things, like do things that are different. It's a shame. It's a shame that Eric Bischoff and AEW are so divided because Bischoff, I think, could add so much to a product like AEW. If they listened to what Bischoff had to say, they wouldn't be where they're at like right now. And it's just like you look at who they lost. Oh my gosh, it's just like Arn Anderson, Jake Roberts, who's I think signed with the company, but he's just not there. And then Tully Blanchard. It's just like that was the cool element of it all. Is you had a lot of legends that didn't necessarily get a big spotlight on WWE programming. Like Arn Anderson was an agent backstage in WWE. Tully Blanchard wasn't in WWE. So like this was and Sting, he was there, but WWE actually misused him. And so and like AEW actually did Sting dang good. Like it did him better than what a send off like for Sting. It was just that was great. But I mean, like you have a lot of these minds backstage, Jerry Lynn, everything. It's just like this has been the criticism for years now with Tony Khan and AEW is what could they could be doing differently. So yeah, there's a lot that can be said about that. And to follow up, Wrestling Always says, especially AEW fans, I wonder if most of their fans are bots or something because they gatekeep and are often rude to would-be fans that ask questions. Right. I don't know either. I don't know. It's a weird tribalistic thing that I never really understood. Like, I did consider myself a WCW kid in the 90s because I loved Scott Hall and I loved the NWO. And so, in the Sting angle, DDP, Raven, everybody in the mix there. So I was a huge WCW kid, but that didn't mean I didn't watch WWE, and that means I was not entertained by what WWE was doing when it came to The Rock and Mankind and Austin and like Ken Shamrock, who really propelled me in the Attitude Era was Ken Shamrock, and so like no, it's like when WWE got better than WCW, I got more into WWE. And then there became a point too. Is like, man, I sure hope Scott Hall goes to WWE at some point, and he did for a little bit. But like, yeah, the tribalistic thing, I compare that to a lot of times. So the New York Jets have a quarterback named Justin Fields, played for the Chicago Bears, he played for the Steelers. Very nice kid. I love him as a person. He's religious and like speaks on a lot of that stuff. And I really rooted for him. I was excited when the Jets signed him, but when it gets down to brass tacks of it all, he's not a good quarterback. He should not be starting. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league right now. And like, there's just talks of him being benched, and he should be benched because he's not playing well. However, you go online, there's a legitimate online contingency of like Fields is the franchise guy. You have to start him, and they'll go after people. They'll go after the critics of him, and like, no, he's the franchise guy. You have to use it, and it's just like makes me feel about like how some AEW fans and some wrestling overall, like I'm sure there's WWE fans that are like that too. They're just like, okay, hey, settle down. Oh, it's just like to pick a company. I want both companies to succeed. I want like I think Robert said on his Patreon of Working Stiff, he wants all companies to succeed too. Like 3 companies would be great to be in the mix of everything because that just makes the business better. It'll be interesting to see how these companies react to not only the changing streaming landscape, but how the landscape changes maybe for one company or another. Like if WWE really starts flourishing and AEW starts floundering because maybe Warner gets bought out by a company that doesn't care about wrestling as much, what are they going to do? Like, I hope that does not happen, and I hope it doesn't put in a position where AEW is lesser than now. But like, I want Tony Khan to realize this is what we need to do differently. And same with WWE. WWE can do like some different stuff too. But it's like to hate on one company or another just because they're the different company. Like, look, WWE was really, really bad to watch in 2019 when Vince was still in charge. It was unwatchable. It was so like, you want to talk about negativity, man. It's like that company wrestling was just in a bad way. And like in 2018 and before AEW started taking off, and AEW revitalized a lot of fan base, and myself included. I covered and I started covering wrestling in 2018 again, and so it was a good time to be a part of it. Let's see. Wrestling Audience says to Dre Owens, I like AEW for the most part. I have my criticism, of course, but my biggest criticism that the fans are douchebag elitists. That's not my biggest criticism, just because they don't matter. Like, the fit. I mean, like, from another fan's perspective, like, I don't care what another fan has to say. Like, in regards, they're just nuts and idiots. I think my biggest criticism is just how they've handled their stars. I think that's my biggest criticism with how AEW's been going. This is Jeff Hanger. Some of these wrestling podcasters and reporters do hate watching wrestling because that's their gimmick. Yes, it's part of their gimmick. They know what sells, and I just like somebody like a James Romero. I just feel he's so insincere in what he has to say and preach about and stuff like that. He's just doing it to make money. He's got good production value, and like, I think that's what really hooks people. I think what really hooks people too was him having Dutch on there, and Dutch being kind of opinionated and saying what he has to say. Get a phone call, and it's a phone call that's not spam. Doesn't look like spam. I'll have to answer that after the fact, and I'll set it over here so it's not making as much noise. All right, let's take a look at some more comments. Jeff Henniger, 100%. I feel like they're borrowing from the Cornette playbook, which is very low ceiling unless you're corny. Michael Watson, happy weekend. The best in the business. Hey, thanks, Michael Watson. Me and him are Facebook friends. Devin Dowling says, F yeah, got pizza and Dom's still live. Yeah, I'm going almost an hour here. Wrestling Old Ed says, Cornette is politically confused, LOL. He says he's left, but most of the time he exhibits right behavior, and that's no shot at either side. I'm with you, Dom. I'm not a fan of politics. Yeah, I could make a comparison. I'm not going to make a comparison just because it's. But yeah, I'm very apolitical. I don't like any party. I'm like of the George Carlin mindset where like it's a big party and you're not invited. It's a big club and you're not invited. That's what it was. Sega says WWE John Cena Intercontinental Championship versus Joe Hendry. It would be fun. I do like whoever propositioned the Gunther beating Joe Hendry in the finals. I think that's a great finals, actually. Actually, I really want that. I want to see Miz win against Jey Uso tonight. I think you still should create a little bit of that intrigue of, it could be Miz. And like, I just don't think there's value in having Jey Uso actually win. I would like to see him lose because somebody cost him it. And it furthers the story with War Games and raises the stakes for War Games. Because I think there's just value in having Miz be in the running for a match with Cena, even if he ultimately doesn't get there. I think John Cena already paid tribute to Miz by giving somebody the skull-crushing finale in a match. So I think that's an indicator that he's not going to be facing the Miz. But I think you should still kind of do that. Let's see. Jeff Hanger says, it's funny with Cornette because people who don't like him call him a racist and sexist, but he will turn around and call anyone who's right-leaning or center. He does the same to them. Yes, he's very... It's a very toxic kind of landscape that he can create, Again, I think he's funny. Like, what he called me, I can't remember. He called me some weird character actor that was very dated, and I literally had to Google that person to see what he looked like. He called me him like dripped in oil, and I laughed even if I didn't know who it was. And when I saw it, I thought it was really funny. And like, so he's funny. He's funny. And he said I looked like I was in a juvenile delinquent basement or something like that. And like I was trapped in the 90s, and I was like, yeah, I kind of am. Yeah, you're kind of right, Jim. But yeah, it's just like a lot of toxicity that gets projected out of there and stuff like that. And to be honest, what he's had to say about like, people I work with and everything, like, I don't like that either. I think he's just running a gimmick. He's looking out for his own betterment and things like that. So yeah, that's how I feel about all that stuff. Wrestling All That says, I wonder what AEW would look like if they started doing small venues and building a groundswell of interest like YouTube before going to TBS and TNT, where their brand and image would be established, already being thrown onto the network and having established themselves. Felt like they skipped a few chapters in their book, in my opinion. I think like there was opportunity to have pretty good big size venues. I think they did jump a little bit in like running these huge venues and stuff like that. At the same time, when they lost people like Cody Rhodes, like CM Punk, in a way, Bryan Danielson because of his injuries. Adam Cole kept getting hurt too. Like those felt like the big deals of coming to AEW. Obviously, you had Sting and stuff there too, but and like Samoa Joe being in the mix, and then Claudio. I think he's been so misunderhandled and everything too. But like they had that opportunity to stay that steady consistency and build their way up, maybe to like the bigger venues and stuff like that. But yeah, what they didn't factor in the aspect of losing Cody and losing Punk and all this stuff, and they still kept going and still kept going and still felt lesser than. And so I think it was just like they're getting stabbed from all sides, and it like on their own batard, as Robert would say. Rascolda continues. Established already being thrown on the network and having them establish themselves. Oh, I read that. Ray Owens agrees with Wrestling Old Heads. They should have done small venues and first big arenas for pay-per-views. Yes, I think that's a good way of philosophy to have. Wrestling Old Head, they essentially had no time to introduce us to their talent, and COVID did no favors without an audience. Yeah, I thought the COVID still provide, like those COVID shows provide a little hope. Like I was like, oh man, they're gonna have some good stuff once they get an audience again. I don't like because I thought Kenny was doing really good back then. They introduced Matt Hardy, which definitely suffered from not having an audience at that point in time. But like Cody being there, just Cody felt like just such a big deal. Like he just felt like appointment television. Cody always felt like appointment television with AEW. Johnny, how are you not going to get one last Miz Cena match? I keep trying to convince myself he'll win the tourney. I just see, like, I know, even I don't think he's gonna win. I just don't think he'll be in the finals. I can't envision that happening because what's next after that? Sure, Cena and Miz get one last match. Like, I think this is a match that would have happened if Cena never turned heel. We get maybe even a good Miz Cena rivalry, which would have been a lot of fun, I think, at this point in time. Cammy, what's up, Cammy? Neither company takes criticism well. WWE laughs it off. TK cries and banned you. I am going to make a show called Constructive Criticism and just see what happens. That's what I'm going to do. Wrestling All Hit. AW really generated a newfound interest in pro wrestling because I was finally a promotion that looked like they could compete with a very stagnant at the time WWE and never missed a show. Right. Neither did I. Felt like appointment television. Devin Dowling, AEW brought my fandom to peak as well. I was losing it in college, 2016 to 17, and barely watched time it was formed. I became fully in again, like I was a kid. LOL. Right. Felt like the Monday Night Wars, even if they weren't on the same television. But the neat thing was, at the time, it was NXT versus AEW, and AEW was winning. And they were doing a good job at producing fun shows and giving you optimism and speculating on what could be, what could happen, who could come in, and how AEW would use them in the best light manner. So when Dynamite first came on, I watched it more than WWE. I think I did too, if I try to remember. TK needs to bring back Britt. I agree. I like Britt a lot. And she's just kind of been laying low. I don't know what the heck's going on. She's definitely like at this point in time that she's not there. Now she feels like there's so much value that can be there with her. WWE adapts when they have real competition, whether it was WCW, TNA, NFL, etc. AEW needs to go back to long-term storytelling. Yes, that's one of the big flaws with AEW for sure. Lou, I hate negativity for the sake of negativity, just rage bait. I don't put Cornette in that category, though, because he provides reasons, insight, and critical analysis from a lifetime of knowledge. I think that's a fair argument. I think sometimes he'll lean into the rage bait kind of stuff, but ultimately, like, I do think that his wrestling opinion. I do. And I think he's just so opinionated and so brash and so scorched earth sometimes that when you listen to him criticize what's been going on from a week in and week out, it just creates a very negative feeling, like, of pro wrestling in general. Like I used to I would listen to his episodes because I was entertained by him. And I'd still, if I were to tune in, I think I would be entertained by him, even though I don't like Brian Last. But I do think it just created this, I can't listen to him because I just don't like, it makes me not like what I'm doing as much anymore, even though I agree with a lot of what he has to say. So I do think you're right, Lou, in the aspect that Uh, he's not doing it for the sake of being negative, but I think he knows that's what sells. And I do agree with, I believe it's Wrestling Old Head and some others that are saying people are just riding off of that and formulating that, trying to do it, and they can't do it like Cornette because, I mean, I think they're insincere to an extent. Wrestling Old Ed. TK better learn how to talk it out with talents and use Brit as patient zero. That's a great point. Wrestling Old Ed. When I want rose-colored glasses and unmitigated positive spin, I like watching Sam Roberts. I like Sam Roberts, and you know what? I think Sam, like, he'll go on with Wade Keller, and like, the guy's pretty smart to the business, and like, he's a good, positive guy that is a wrestling. But I think he can still criticize at certain points in time, if I'm not mistaken. I, any guy that goes on with like a Wade Keller or something like that, and uh, kind of has a fun. I do agree with. Like and I like Sam too. I agree with you on that. Wrestling Oda agrees with Jay Owens. Pure Facts W is mostly on cruise control until competition starts to catch up. R.I.P. Brody Lee. I had high hopes for him until his passing. Yeah, that was such a fun thing too. What he was doing with the Dark Order, they felt like a cool faction. Him like just flipping out on people was great. And yeah, Brody was awesome. R.I.P. to him for sure. Wow. Devin had tickets to Matt Hardy Brody Lee debut show in Rochester. How about that? That's right. I forgot you're from the Rochester area. All right, man. I went an hour. Holy crap. Well, this was fun, guys. I'll see you Monday. What I'll do is try to get a guest. Robert will not be here on Monday, but I will be. And let me say, Rob Van Dam, Katie Forbes, and we went live last night on rvdtv.com. I will be taking that aspect down, the live stream down. It will still be available on Rob's YouTube channel, but I take it down and then I put it on the back end for members. And what I'll do is publish it again on Monday. So we had a fun conversation. We talked about Eddie Guerrero. I'm trying to think what else we cover a lot. Just some good conversation that Rob, Katie, and I all discuss. And so check it out. It's a fun show. You will like it. And I always enjoy talking to Rob and Katie. So fun time. I was a little hungover at the event I went to. That's weird. I drank I drank a lot for myself. And like I was tuned in a little bit. And then I got back to my place and I just had a pounded headache, like big time headache. And like, but interacting with Rob and Katie sobered me up in a great way, in a fun way. And so, but by the time I was done with it, I was like, oh God, I gotta go to bed. I have such a headache. And I woke up with still a headache. So the moral of that story is to drink water more so. And I did drink water, but I don't know. The alcohol did not hit me in the right manner as much as I wanted to. I wasn't like I got tuned in, like, but I wasn't like. Thankfully, I wasn't like, oh my god, I knew I had to record a show anyways. But it's like loosened you up a little bit. But it's like it gave me a lingering headache where I'm like, I didn't expect this to happen right now. I don't know what it is. Maybe the hard cider, gives me a headache. Either way, what? Do you guys even care? All right, hey, this is fun. I legitimately went an hour. In 20 seconds, I'll legitimately have gone a whole hour here. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm trying to think. Help support Robert. He just recorded a Patreon for Working Stiff, where he goes in depth about blood and guts. He talks about Chris Jericho. Oh, Jesus, didn't even talk about that. Chris Jericho, kind of implying that TNA looked like the second biggest company in wrestling after Bound for Glory. And so, what does that say for his future? And then he also talks about MVP re-signing with AEW. I also meant to talk about that, but didn't. Jeff Henniger with some rock solid advice here. Best way to stop a headache is to start drinking again. No. Golly gee, I will probably have a couple tonight actually because I'm supposed to go do karaoke with some folks. So I'll probably have one to loosen up a little bit. I will be singing something from the late 90s for sure. Maybe Third Eye Blind. Milk Thistle Dawn. You'll never have a hangover again. Yeah. Also, Kevin Nash gave me a good tip about curing a headache, which I should have did last night. Was take a little teaspoon of Himalayan salt, put it in water, and have some of that. Z-Biotics, I heard of Z-Biotics before. Yeah. I don't know, I drank water, like, but probably just not enough. And then I was like, "Man, I want something to soak up this booze that I had," and I had a bunch of macaroni and cheese too at the nighttime. Tried it, quote, unquote, "healthy macaroni and cheese." It's like, I can't remember. There's another box over there. Anyways, I'm gonna go. Thank you all for tuning in and, enjoying my diatribes, or at least sitting through them. All right, so I'll see you all Monday here on Rumor and Innuendo, and best of luck in your future endeavors. And hmm, let's applaud the Miz. Let's applaud the Miz and see what he has in store for us tonight, if anything. So, all right, see you guys next time. And yes, be good to yourselves and each other.